when you're coming up with a podcast and you really want to be able to connect and have conversations around a theme, we talk about leadership, technology, and teaching. Those are really our three big sort of pillars or themes. And the way that we're tying all those together is this whole idea of being better. So always trying to do better, to look for better, to improve it and enhance what we're doing.
The Better Mindset Podcast.
Welcome to the Better Mindset Podcast, episode number 2. I'm Mark Herring.
And I'm Bex Rose.
Conversations about leadership, learning and educational technologies. On today's episode, we chat about a different approach to goal setting for your year, a little bit different from last episode. Bex and I are your special guests as we unpack what makes a better mindset and whether some people are just wired that way. And Kelly's going to share a small but game-changing approach to Google Docs. All right, Bex, the Making Waves segment. I quite like this approach because what we're going to try and do in this little segment is focus on a big idea or a trend or something that we think is quite timely, and just try to unpack something between the two of us. And it's the beginning of January, so that for a lot of leaders and teachers in schools, you've got some reflection time, you've got some time to be able to just really unpack what your year's been like, looking back, resetting a few things, and then maybe looking forward. So my approach with this is a little bit different from episode 1. So in episode 1, we had Mike starting to look at, as a guest, we had our director on looking at how to set goals across the school. And that's still definitely, something that we really recommend that schools do. Obviously, goal setting is a huge part of success as a leader, and in your classroom, you want to be able to have some goals with your students. But the big idea that I wanted to unpack is just this idea of, instead of setting goals, actually having a word for the year. And it's something that I first heard probably about 6 or 7 years ago. There was a friend of mine who was teaching as a DP in a school, and they were one of those schools that were they were developing modern learning environments. They were doing a lot of collaborative practice, and so professional learning was really big for them. And she told me on Twitter, actually, we just connected on Twitter, and she said, "Oh, we've got a word for the year," and she shared what that was, and that was the first time I'd heard of that concept. And I know that this is something that you've talked about before as well, haven't you?
Absolutely. And I think it's something, it's that grounding, anchoring thing that we've mentioned before. Something that you always bring it all back to. So rather than going, I'm going to do this, 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 and you kind of just treading water the whole time, you're actually really digging deep into some sort of concept that you really want to target in your life. And funny, Mark and I are generally on the same page on most things, and funnily that he should bring this up is because I downloaded this exact thing for me to do for this year as well, this weekend. So, so on the same page, Mark. Love it.
You can call it the universe talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a couple of ideas, I guess, things that I've been thinking about that make the word for the year work really well. And it'd be interesting to hear what other people think about this as well. And this is an approach that I've used before. If it's the first time, these are some of the things that we think might help you work with that. So the first thing is I would recommend find a word that is going to connect with you both professionally and personally. So one of the things that I think has become quite in vogue is kind of separating your personal and professional life, this demarcation. And while I'm all for boundaries, I think you definitely need to have boundaries in your work life. I think, for me, it's much more healthy to think of myself in a holistic way. So thinking about me at work and at home, I'm the same person, technically I should be the same person. You adapt in different ways. But what I'm trying to develop for myself professionally should really make some connection in my personal life as well, because then I think the two just start to tie together, and then you're starting to see yourself as a whole, and it's not, kind of broken down into parts. The second thing, and I think one of the things that would help define the professional and the personal is really unpack the why behind your word. So if you've got a key word that you're working on and that's your word for the year, that why behind it is really critical, because number one, it'll help you sustain it, right? When things get hard, or maybe you lose track or you forget about it. But having that, or it gets hard. That's the other thing. But really the why behind it just gives you a whole sense of purpose and a sense of mission behind what you're going to do. And it just helps to motivate you. I'm one of those people. I need to be motivated to do something like by a greater cause. I don't know, you're the same, aren't you?
Yeah. Should we go through? Can I suggest some words? Maybe.
Yeah. Totally.
There are some. I've got my phone here because I've got I uploaded a couple of pictures of words of the year. Now these can be easily found on the internet. So if you just type in word of the year ideas, but some of the top ones here are things like focus, grow, organize. I think my kids need that one.
That's a good personal one. Yeah.
Simplify your life.
Yeah.
Mine last year was gratitude.
Right, cool.
Being grateful for all the opportunities thrown this way. It's something that I guess it just makes you look at world in a different way when you start being grateful for opportunities and events and challenges. There's other ones like mindful, considerate, calm.
Yeah.
That might be mine for next year, I think. Positivity, respect, appreciate, enlighten. So there's heaps and heaps of ideas, but if you have that central focus, it really helps you dig deep into making decisions across your life, actively engaging a mindset. I actually really like that one, calm. I think that needs to be, the last couple of years have just been so... all I can picture in my head right now is just like waves crashing, like one thing after another, after another. So just getting into that sense. And it's funny because when I was down in my favourite place in the whole world, Whangamata, the other weekend, you can go there sometimes and the beach is absolutely crashing around. And then when I was there the other weekend, it was completely calm. And I was like, like it just gave me that sense. So yeah, sorry, I digressed a little bit there, Mark. But yeah, there's some ideas right there for you.
Yeah. Well, exactly what you just did then when you thought of a word that resonated with a need. Usually a word will come to your mind because of something that you'd like to see yourself grow in or develop a strength around. I think that's one of the things. So the other, I guess, advice I'd say for people who are thinking about a word is to develop that word in your summer break, if you've got a holiday time, or even in the weekends or evenings, with someone that you trust, whether it's a partner or someone close, a good friend, and just unpack it verbally. So just go through what you think the word might be and why it is, because a lot of neurologists will say there's research that says there's thousands of words that float around in our brain at any particular time, or thousands of thoughts. They say that the average person has about 6,000 thoughts a day. And so all of that, if you think about all the thoughts you've had over the last year, there's a lot going on for us. And in our summer period, this is a time for you to be able to distill that down and just talk it out. And so the juxtaposition is a good word for a summer break, between how many thoughts you've got and how many words. You can say there's 6,000 thoughts you might have over a particular day, but we can only speak 125 words a minute usually. I think Kiwis, New Zealanders tend to speak a little bit faster. But the more you talk and the more you get those words out, it's kind of like getting all of those words in that washing machine that's in your brain and actually filter it out through verbally with somebody. And I'm a real thinker while I talk, so I have to verbalize and process and unpack what I'm saying at the same time. So that's really important. So
there's also that accountability too, is that when you start talking to people about your word, then people will go, how's that word going? And you go, that's right, I heard that word, I've got to be calm.
Yeah, or even make it part of, like, if you've social media, part of your bio, word for the year, semicolon, or have it on your planning. Like if you're a teacher who's got planning, you have it at the top of your planning and actually distill that word out and maybe unpack it a little bit into a statement.
Great idea.
Lots of different things you can do. I tell you, my word for so yours is calm. You thinking yours is calm?
I think that's where I'm going to head to. Yep.
Yeah, mine's build. So what I'm really keen to be able to do is just build some skills in a development phase for me. Like I'd really like to continue to grow in my leadership development and a few other different areas. But I know also for my wife, she's an illustrator, and there's some things that she'd like to build in that, and I'm going to help her out in that area. So we're going to really see, I think that, and that could be another little tip as well. Do it as a couple if you've got a partner.
I was just going to ask that. So you're both going to use that word, are you? Yeah. So you can hold each other up, accountable to each other.
Yeah. I don't know if we haven't talked about it too much, but I was just talking to her about it this morning, because this was obviously going to be the thing that we were going to be talking about this morning. So there's a lot of things that we want to build, kind of looking forward for us into the future. So there you go. So that's the big idea. yeah, like you said, if you want to unpack what that looks like and maybe get a few more ideas, there's lots of things on the internet that talk about that from a teaching perspective and from a leadership perspective, whatever you're doing, check it out. All right, guest on the show, episode 2. We've actually decided that you and I are going to be the guests on the show today, Bex. Ta-da! There you go. So what we thought would be quite good for us to be able to have a conversation about would be the whole concept of the Better Mindset podcast. What does a better mindset mean? And we're going to dive into a few little topics around that. But what I thought I'd just unpack is really the whole idea of better. When you're coming up with a podcast and you really want to be able to connect and have conversations around a theme, we talk about leadership, technology, and teaching. Those are really our 3 big sort of pillars or themes. And the way that we're tying all those together is this whole idea of being better. So always trying to do better, to look for better, to improve it and enhance what we're doing. And so that's really the whole, in a gist, really, that's kind of the better mindset approach. It's kind of like a lens or a pair of glasses that you're looking through all the time, isn't it? I think, making the connection between that and using technology better is one of our core values is make it better, which is really a really nice way. It's in our name. It's one of our core values. It's something that we do. And so every school that we engage with, every teacher, every business, everything that we're doing, we're always trying to improve things and make them better. I want to just ask a couple of questions about that and just have a little unpack a couple of questions. The first one is really around this whole idea of why we think there are some people who are really engaged and in tuned to see the things that need to be improved. They're kind of always seeking for better, and why some people aren't. I'm wondering if you've got any thoughts about that, and we could start with that. Why do some people just naturally feel attuned to wanting to make things better?
It's a big question. I think I might just dial it back a little bit, is that I might not have always been this way. I am a massive fan of neuroplasticity because I am a product of it. So historically, I guess when I was a teen and when I was a kid, I didn't look at things to be better. I was always the negative Nancy. I was always thought the world was against me. I thought it was, the world was, things always went wrong for me. Oh, of course it is. Because, that's how that was my catchphrase. Oh, of course it would happen to me. That kind of thing. And as I've grown, both in my career, my leadership, my life, I have actively changed the way I've thought and my mindset. So I have really worked on building a better mindset and a more positive mindset. I've done a lot of learning around it, and I feel like I'm a product of neuroplasticity. I've been able to change my mindset so I can see for the things for the better. One of the key things that I guess I've always had in the back of my mind is all it takes is 1% better every day. It doesn't have to be a massive mind shift. It can be something that you do, one tiny thing, like what we've talked about in the habits in episode 1. 1% better can equate to something massive by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So whether that be exercise, whether that be how you view challenges in life, if you change something small, it can amount and compound into something big.
Yeah. And it's what I think personally for me too, like I think back, and I guess everybody changes as they grow, but my life, we moved around a lot as a kid. So we were always in this state of change. That was one of the things that was just a constant in my life. The family was always, very stable and very secure, but that kind of change mentality, it was all, I saw it as an opportunity to make things different and better every time we moved. So, it's like, oh, great. I get to have a new bedroom, and I get to make my bedroom better. And then, the school, I could kind of be better as a person when I get to a new school and all those types of things. So I kind of grew up in this ecosystem or this incubator where I felt like I had opportunities to improve and develop and grow, kind of like you. It's interesting to sort of look at your own background and see how that has shaped you and what you're doing now. But it's like, I think you can definitely change and become much more somebody who's got that mindset where they always want to improve, and I think some people have that more than others. I think for me, it's definitely been a process, but it's just the way I'm wired. Like, I think, if you ask my wife, we've done some discovery over the last few years, and she has come to recognise the things that really tick her off are the things that make me great at my job. So I'll explain. So one of the things that she gets sick of is me always telling her things that she could improve, or, spotting things that she could be doing better, because every spouse wants to hear that from their partner, right? And
Totally.
There's a situation that came up recently where we run, and we like to run together, and she had told me, you need to stop telling me to do things, like I'm quite happy the way I do things. She's a strong personality. She's quiet, but she's very very secure. And I saw that she wasn't tying her shoelaces very well.
Oh, no.
There's
Mark,
a way
no.
to... Well, I don't know. You can actually Google it. So there's a YouTube video, and there's a way to tie your shoelaces that apparently they get 1% to 2%. Like people who are speed runners, racers, you can get 1% to 2%
clearly.
efficiency. No, it's totally not. I'm a plotter. But there's a way that you tie your shoelaces where you can actually lock the heel down a lot better, and you get much more distributed tension across the lace. And I tried to tell her that one time, and it just became one of those funny things where she's like, you're even trying to tell me how to lace my shoes better.
Do you know what, Mark? I think this is going to bring me to something that we really want to talk about. When we are learning and growing and trying to, be better, there are frameworks that can help you clarify this, right? So just then, which is not something that I would have thought of you being much of, but of discerning, right? So we've talked about. I'm gonna jump ahead of you on this because this is something that we're both very passionate about, but it definitely has changed my life. We have mentioned it before, the working genius, and the working genius for me. Oh my goodness, it was like it opened up this whole appreciation for other people. Okay, so I found out, cool, I'm a galvanizer. Sorry, I'm just banging my head. I'm a galvanizer. When I find something that I want, that I think is awesome, I want to share it with everyone. I want to get everyone excited about it. I get the right people in the right places and go ahead, right? That's really cool. And I learned that about me, and I was like, yep, heck yes, that's me. Okay. But what it did, what the framework did for me was appreciate things that may have used to frustrate me about other people, right? So for example, that discernment that you potentially were doing, we're talking about the shoelaces and trying to say, hey, maybe this is a different way, or this might be a better way of doing it. Sometimes I used to sit in staff meetings and be like, for goodness sake, can we just, this is a great idea, because ideation is also one of my geniuses. I'd be like, yes, let's do this. And someone would go, did you think about this, and this?
Yeah.
And I'd go, oh, for goodness sake. But now I'm like, I need that person, because if I hadn't heard those what ifs, we might be left with a dud product. So I guess how I'm getting back to that is I feel like it's a better mindset for me, because I look at other people and go, that might have frustrated me a couple of years back, but I totally appreciate that part of your personality.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key ideas about always trying to make things better, is that everybody's got a different role to play in that, So just for those listening, if you haven't come across the Working Genius, you can look it up. It's workinggenius.com. Patrick Lencioni has developed this idea with the Table Group, as a group of thought leaders that he works with. And his company have devised an idea or a framework where there are 6 geniuses, and everybody has at least 2 of those. And so they go through a bit of a process, or there can be a productivity process that you can take things through, where there's wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And I've sort of memorized those over the last year that we've been working with schools and using it internally in our company as well. And I think that's sort of one of the questions that I wanted to kind of flesh out in this conversation. When you're thinking about some people being more wired to a better mindset than others, I think there are some personality types and some people who have got certain types of geniuses that do fit with seeing opportunities and instigating change and things that need to be improved than others, you know. And in the Working Genius framework, one of the things that they talk about is there are some people who are wired to be disruptors, and then some people who are wired to be responders. I think that's the way they phrase the second part. So my working genius is a wonder and invention. So I'm often asking big questions. I'm often coming up with ideas that then prompt some change or some opportunities for change. And it's the people who are, more around the enablement and tenacity. They're responding to the disruptors the disruptions that I'm suggesting. So when you've got a lens that's looking for things to improve and looking for ways to make things better, then there are other people involved in that process that can kind of move that through. But yeah, it's interesting that, personality types, the way you're wired, all of those types of things, that they just make you appreciate everybody in that whole process, don't they? And the fact that everybody's got a part to play in that.
Yeah, and I think it's just that constant learning and just keep learning. I think that a lot of strategic plans and a lot of visions and a lot of mottos in school is to grow the learner, like the ongoing learner. What's the word I'm looking for, Mark? Like the
growth
they
mindset.
keep on learning. Yeah, just keep on learning.
Lifelong learners and those types
lifelong
of
learners. Exactly right. And to really embody that is where the sweet spot is, right? So if you just keep on learning and keep on being open to shifting that mindset to make it better, that's where the sweet spot is. And I think that that's something really important and to go through 2023 with is just be open to learning. And of course, at the moment, the change in the world is just rapid after COVID and the lockdowns and AI and all the things that are coming in, and just being open that to enable your life to be better through change. So yeah, having that open mindset to learn and grow.
Yeah, it's a really important perspective to have, isn't it? For anybody. I wonder too, like for some of us, there are some of us who are wired to always be looking for the improvement. I think there's kind of two ends of the spectrum. There's the one extreme, there are the people who are always looking for opportunities to improve things, and I can tend to fall into that opportunity, that kind of mindset. But then there are other people who are, at the other end, and they're just quite happy for things to stay the same. Like they like stability, they like structure, they don't want things to change, and they're very, quite happy to stay there and just keep things ticking over. I wonder if the challenge for us moving into a new year is for us to be able to get a bit more of a balance, maybe not to totally change the way that we see things, because I think we're all wired and we all have a contribution to make. But for people like me, if I'm constantly always looking to improve things, then that means that I don't enjoy what we've got and don't appreciate, and feel gratitude for where we are and what we're doing and what we're achieving. I wonder, what would you say for the people who are kind of quite happy with where they are? What would you say the little shift would be that they could make?
To move into to making it better?
Yeah, to move
Is that what you mean?
a little bit. What could they do to move a little bit more towards a better mindset?
I think it's surrounding yourself with the right people as well. Something I really want to dig deep into the podcast in the next couple of episodes. Surrounding yourself with people that that you maybe aspire to have the same sort of mindset as. I would challenge people to learn something new, because whatever it is, you'll face challenge, because you'll go into the pit where you go, oh, I don't even know what this is talking about. I don't know how to do this. And then you'll start gradually going back up the other side of the learning pit, and you start having those new learnings, and you'll grow just from that challenge of learning something new, no matter what it is. That would be my challenge to people. Learn something new.
Fantastic. And no better time to do that when we've got a summer break and we've got some time on the beach, or if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you've got a little bit of Christmas holiday time just to be able to unpack at the start of the new semester. So yeah, good challenges there about having a better mindset. Great chat. Well, this is a segment where we get to have a look at some new tools. We are finding out some new things that are happening, which is quite timely for the beginning of the year, and we're coming into a new year, especially if you're in the Google Workspaces environment in your school. We've got Kelly. Good to have Kelly here. Kelly is one of our trainers in New Zealand and is a Google certified trainer, which is fantastic. Tell us what we've got, Kelly.
Awesome, thanks for having me. So today I thought I'd run through a few of the updates that I personally got from Google last week, so they're hot off the press. So the first one I thought I'd run through with you is that Google have upped their Google for Education website. They've done a big sort of rollout of new products. And so if you end up going to, I just normally Google for Education, and it's the first website that pops up. And if you go to the For Educators thing at the top, and then over the left-hand side, you've got these things called product guides. So these will guide you through all of the different products from Google. And there are some training courses and stuff in here as well. So some really cool updates inside the actual Google website. They also have a new product called In-Person Learning, which is a small little course that you can jump into, particularly if you've had a lot of kids that have either been hybrid learning or you've had quite a few kids that haven't actually come back full-time into your classroom. You can jump in here, some real cool tips and tricks on how to really re-engage them back into your classroom in person.
All right, so some good things for teachers to be doing. You know, you've got a little bit of time off before things start ramping up, and you're kind of, you know, your kids are at the beach and you've got a little quiet time to spend. This could be a good platform to go and just do a little bit of in-person learning, really, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Just, you know, you might want to find something neat and engaging to help your class when you come back in the new year. So, yeah, there'll be a few things in there for you.
Awesome.
And then my most exciting update, which I've been waiting for this for ages, is that now in Google Docs with tables. So when I insert a table, normally I would have had to forethought how many cells I wanted across and down, and then be able to merge them to create the cells that I wanted, because you weren't originally allowed to split them. But now you can actually split them.
Cut it out. Are you kidding me?
I'm not. So when I insert a table, I don't have to think ahead about how many cells I want, because I can actually split them, which is really cool.
I was thinking,
split cells when you right click on it.
That's one of those things that is quite a small little addition to whatever algorithm they've got running in the background of Google Docs, but it does make a huge difference for teachers. I'm a teacher. Why would I care? Tell me why I'd care about that.
So when I was teaching, I used tables for everything, for my planning templates, for kids' worksheets, for just like graphic organizers. They're real quick and easy just to like insert a table into a doc, share it with your class and get them to input information. But every now and then you need to split something into, because you've got too many things in one cell, so you want to split it into two, and you can really easily split your information now and just copy and paste what you need on either side of that split cell.
Yeah, that's right. If you're a PE administrator and you're organising rosters and timetables and those types of things as well, there's a lot of uses for that. It's isn't it funny, Bex, how like something small like that can just totally change the way that you're working? Because up until now, you had to create your table, like you were saying, and then you'd sort of be, like I have to start again, because you need another. Yeah.
Just want to add in there, Google's really good at listening to changes that people want to have made. So is it down in the bottom right-hand corner, Kelly, am I right there? If you see something that isn't there that you want there, click on the little bottom button at the bottom, and it should say, what does it say, Kelly?
No, you go up to the help one and type in here.
Oh, the helpline, yeah. And you can
and then go to help
suggest
docs improve.
Yes. That's right.
Yep.
And you can add in your suggestions there, and they do literally listen to you. So, and if you think that it's something that's really important, get your friends to write it too, and they'll see the same thing coming through. And they do make changes according to your suggestions. So just a little tip there. Google do listen to you. They've got a team of people that are dedicated to looking at those suggestions and then make the update. So there must have been a bunch of people that said, hey, why are there no split cells in here? And then they've made the change accordingly. So that's just a little tip there in Google.
Yeah, like the more people jump on and do the same thing that they want changed, the higher up Google's list it goes. So a lot of people asked for Tadeo to be part of the translate within Google, and it became part of the translate within Google. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, so a lot of people currently are like wanting groups in Google Classroom. So if you want it, got to go and ask for it. It's just not going to happen with you thinking about it.
Yeah, and that's probably a great tip as well. And so if you're using Google Workspaces with students, and this goes for any platform, whether it's Apple or Microsoft as well, getting them engaged, like having them come up with ideas of things that they could do to improve the tools, that's that whole better mindset, isn't it, Bex? You're actually engaging the students in that process as well. So there's another little tip that you could do, getting students engaged with, suggesting things to Google. It just helps them feel like they're connected to an online community and they're part of the whole process of the tools being developed, further down the track. So that's really cool. Thanks, Kelly. Great little tip there. I think everybody's going to be running out now and creating little cells and different things like that on their tables. It's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kelly.
Well, that's it for another episode, Bex, episode 2. What did you think?
I'm just loving this. I love having these chats. I loved hearing about the word of the year and what your word of the year is. And I put the challenge out there to all the listeners to think of their couple of words and talk with their whānau and friends and family around what they might want to achieve throughout the year. I also do challenge you to go and try something new and just observe your mindset in that time, how you feel, what are the thoughts that are coming to your head, because that's a really good starting point of working on building a better mindset. And just that last thing with Kelly's upskilling us in her spotlight session with the split cells, just thinking about the reason behind us having that spotlight is to build your efficiency in your classroom or in your practice of whatever practice you are. So building your efficiency in a tool enables you to have better well-being. Being able to do things faster, more efficiently is all to make you better as an educator or practitioner as well. So just a bit of background why we pop those in there.
Yeah, fantastic. It really does help you feel like you've got confidence and mastery of the tools you've got too, doesn't it? That's great. So if you're after some of the links or resources that we've mentioned today, whether it's the Working Genius, some of the Google resources, there's lots of different things that we mention. We'll put those in the show notes for you and make sure that you subscribe just to make sure that we don't miss anything. Our aim this year is to publish every week. So we'd love for you to be able to keep up with those episodes that come out. If you know somebody who would get value from some of those episodes, we'd love you to share that with them, whether it's anything in the content or something coming up in the future. We'd love you to share them and let people know about what we're doing. Lastly, if you've got any questions or anything to share with us, we are really going to value your feedback and we're looking forward to hearing from you. You can email us at team@usingtechnologybetter.com. We'd love to hear from you and we will see you on the next episode.
See ya.